silence to keep those Marines and that sailor that were killed in Chattanooga in our prayers. Salute to the flag, Dennis.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-10, has been complied with and shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting.
Roll call.
Freeholder Armwood.
Here.
Freeholder Volante. Freeholder Kenny.
Here.
Freeholder Polos. Freeholder Tamaro.
Here.
Freeholder Valenti.
Here.
Freeholder Director Rios.
Here. We have some recognitions.
Recognizing July 26, 2015 as the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Recognizing July 14, 2015 as the 50th anniversary of the Older Americans Act. Recognizing Farmer of the Year Robert D. Balls. Recognizing Volunteer of the Year Caroline Etch. Recognizing Theodore Esteban Chu, Boy Scout Troop 14, on his achievement of Eagle Scout status.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Valenti, seconded by Freeholder Tamaro. Roll call.
Freeholder Armwood.
Yes.
Freeholder
Yes.
Kenny. Freeholder Tamaro.
Yes.
Freeholder Valenti.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rios.
Yes. At this time, I would ask Freeholder Valenti to step up. I'd like to also acknowledge that we have our illustrious surrogate here, who's always a pleasure to see his friendly face. He's always working hard for us.
Don't give him the microphone, though, right?
Good evening. I'm pleased that Elaine Hyman Risley and our Honorable Kevin Hoagland, our county surrogate, are here tonight to participate in this recognition. Excuse me. Elaine, who's an artist, began serving on the county's advisory board for persons with disabilities in 1992 and continues to serve today. She also serves on the State Human Relations Council, along with being the chair for the East Brunswick Township Human Relations Council, vice president of the East Brunswick Township Art Commission, and for the past 17 years, she has been the coordinator of the Lap Tapestry Plus Committee, which knits and crochets blankets for senior citizens and disabled veterans. Our county surrogate, Kevin Hoagland, is a founder and president of the Central Jersey Spinal Cord Association. In 1988, he became the county's first personal assistance service program coordinator with the Division of Home Care Services, which he later came to direct. In 1988, Kevin also became the chairman of the Mayor's Committee for Barrier-Free New Brunswick. Former Freeholder Director Dave Craybill appointed Kevin to be the county's ADA coordinator in 1993. That same year, he has also became the county surrogate. Kevin also assisted in assessing the county's 19 parks for parking, playground, and comfort station accessibility. On July 26, 1990, in front of a crowd of 3,000 people, the Americans with Disability Act, or ADA, was signed into law with the intent that every man, woman, and child with a disability can now pass through once closed doors into a bright new era of equality, independence, and freedom. Middlesex County has been and continues to be responsive to the needs and concerns of persons with disabilities. In fact, in May of 1981, 9 years prior to the signing of the ADA, Middlesex County established a Commission for the Handicapped, as it was then called. This 9-member commission provided advocacy and leadership to ensure the needs of persons with disabilities were heard. Very soon afterwards, Middlesex County created one of New Jersey's first offices for the handicapped. This office has since evolved into the current Office of Aging and Disabled Services, which serves as a centralized entry point for information and support and services for older adults as well as for persons with disabilities. As proud as we are of all we have achieved, Middlesex County continues to reflect on what further services and efforts are needed. This fall, we will be conducting a needs assessment to gather input on the needs of citizens with disabilities. We encourage persons with disabilities, family members, and all stakeholders to contribute to this effort and provide your feedback. At this point, I am honored to hand this proclamation to both Kevin and Elaine and see if they would like to say a few words.
Kevin says ladies first, but I think he's really respecting his elders. Kevin and I have known each other for more than 25 years, and we were both there in the infancy of the ADA. We've both seen it grow. I remember when we couldn't push a button, when there were no curb cuts, when there were no ramps, where accessibility was seldom seen, where it couldn't be taken for granted, and where we saw struggle upon struggle with our friends and our associates and ourselves. Today, we still can't take it for granted, but there has developed a beauty in communication, a beauty in the sensitivity of others, where when we meet with a lack of sensitivity or a barrier, where if you keep calm and your explanation is explicit, you might meet with someone who is willing to see that the next time you travel that path, you will not meet with that barrier, because people are becoming concerned about their neighbors. They have even replaced crumbled steps with a smooth ramp so that their neighbors who are not insular people can come and visit the house next door. Because people with disabilities are not insular people. They don't want to always have the crowd over and have to entertain their neighbors because they have a ramp. And so by installing a ramp at a neighbor's home, they can visit. In terms of cost, it's even cheaper to build that ramp than to put in stairs. It's just the way they level or grade the surface. And when you explain that to a builder, the cost is negligible or even less. It's the retrofitting that might cost more. And if the news people would put in little excerpts as they are reporting, and instead of scandalous news, put in news that we could really use to make changes in our world for access for all people, we could have that change. And today, differently than 25 years ago, You don't have the outrage of people when we say we want to build an accessible this or that, because they're finding that we can all travel that accessible ramp. People with groceries love the fact that the door opens automatically. People with children in strollers love the fact that they don't have to go up the stairs. And so all of the changes that have come about make it easier for all people. And people with disability are meeting their friends, their neighbors, people like them in a world of all people. This didn't happen 25 years ago. And so when you turned on the television, you saw maybe 1 or 2 people with disabilities included in a show. And now you see many. Your child may come home from preschool and say, "Can I invite so-and-so to play with me on Saturday?" And that child might have a hearing disability, but your child is learning sign language. How wonderful that it's included with English and Spanish and French and sign language. So the changes are here. There's more coming. We are becoming better people. And it's all because we are accepting one another. May the ADA continue to grow.
Kevin, would you like to say a few words?
There it is.
Normally the freeholders get very nervous when the surrogate shows up at a freeholder meeting, and they get more nervous when I have a microphone. But one of the people that has not been mentioned with respect to the Americans with Disabilities Act and the county's involvement in it the last 25 years is Debbie Hare. Debbie and I met back in 1988 when we first started working in the Department of Human Services. And without Debbie, I can tell you that a lot of these improvements would not have been made. So for that, I think she should be recognized. And to the Freeholder Board presently, and to all the Freeholder Boards for the past 25 years. Without their support, Middlesex County would not be the leader in accessibility. And I know firsthand what it took to make all of our parks accessible, all of our buildings accessible, and even all of our polling places accessible. And I challenge any other county, and I speak the same about the city of New Brunswick and what Mayor Cahill has done here. I challenge any other city to show us that they have done more than the city of New Brunswick, or in this case the county of Middlesex, to make the services and the buildings that the county owns and operates more accessible than Middlesex County. So thank you for the acknowledgement, but really the credit goes to the freeholders all the way back to David Craviel when the ADA first came into play. And the 25 years have seen marked improvement in the lives of people with disabilities, mostly in Middlesex County because of the Board of Chosen Freeholders. So thank you for all that. And I want to tell you that only tonight would I be dragged from my softball game to celebrate this occasion. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for those kind words. Right now, I'm pleased to announce that next week will be the opening of a traveling art show in recognition of the 25th anniversary of the ADA. And I invite my colleague, Freeholder Armwood, to share the information in this wonderful exhibit.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to keep my remarks short. Hopefully, our surrogate can make his softball game. This is in recognition of the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Expression's traveling art show and sale promotes the arts, promoting the creative and often transformative power of both adults and children with disabilities. Expression's traveling art show opens July 29th in Carteret Blazing Star Cultural Arts Center, 63 Carteret Avenue. And on August 19th, Expressions moves to Edison at the Middlesex County Studio Theater Gallery, 2600 Woodbridge Avenue. The third location for Expressions is the Piscataway JFK Library, 500 Hose Lane, starting on September 16th through October 4th. Working in partnership with Central Jersey Arts Council, CJAC, VSA New Jersey, the State Organization on Arts and Disability, a collection of artists' work will be exhibited and available for sale. Through the collaborations between two county departments, Community Services and Business Development and Education, through the offices of Cultural and Heritage and the Aging and Disabled Services, Middlesex County is striving to offer unique cultural programming in the arts and history for our residents and visitors, offering ADA accessibility at every venue. Collaborations with countywide advocates for ADA services, along with cultural programming, bring new experiences for everyone. For more information, go to www.co.middlesex.nj.us. Search Expressions and like us on Facebook, Middlesex County, New Jersey. And I would like to introduce, I believe we have two artists here in the audience. Mr. Jeffrey Belpano resides in Hightstown, New Jersey, and began painting in 2001. He is an impressionist artist who uses acrylic paints and pastels to create his work. His love for Native American art and the Southwest are the inspiration for many of his pieces. Is Mr. Belpano here? And Mr. Craig Mahoney resides in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and began creating aluminum foil sculptures, which he has continued to develop as an art form throughout his life. I Am an Artist, educational documentary featuring Craig and his sculptures. As a student of the Gateway School in Carteret, where he received most of his education, and has been awarded a partial scholarship from the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation at the Vermont Studio Center. Mr. Mahoney, are you here? All right.
Thank you. Okay, is there any, is our Boy Scout here?
I don't believe so.
No? I think that's it. Okay, at this time, I would like to do a presentation on our Middlesex County Pancreatic Cancer Walk. I would just like to give a little background about this. This is our 7th walk, and we had a lot of support from a lot of people. We did this in partnership with Rutgers Cancer Institute in New Jersey, and I'd like to say this really makes me feel good that when we have an event like this, it always turns out a lot of folks, and it always drums up a lot of support from a lot of people from all walks of life. Pancreatic cancer does not discriminate by age, race, color, creed, or religion, and it's really a silent killer, and it's really such a bad disease that we're making every effort to raise awareness and obviously raise funds for cancer research. I want to thank so many people, our health department staff, Les Jones, and so many people in the health department, different departments within the county. that helped out in this. We had private vendors that donated food. The Middlesex Water Company donated water. And this year we changed it into a 5K walk run, and it increased a lot more people to come in and participate. As you can see from some of the photos here that we have, that created a lot of interest, and of course our goal was to raise more money besides the interest so it can go to research. There's a couple of more slides that you can see where we had people that worked not just that day, but for months and months. And I'm going to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, probably close to a year ahead in advance in planning this. And we even did it on Spotlight on Middlesex County. And I thank my Freeholder colleagues for supporting this effort as well, because without your support, we couldn't do this. And it really it drove a lot of awareness towards this terrible disease. And as you could see, all those people that were there were volunteering. Our Parks Department, so many people in county government participated. And just to let you know that we had 215 walkers, 8 virtual walkers, 94 runners. I was not one of the runners. And we had 31 teams.
Man, my crutches.
And it was incredible. We changed the venue from Roosevelt Park this year to Johnson Park. And look at the teams that we generated here. And obviously it was a fun day. You know, it's a kind of a bittersweet event that we have, because obviously most of the people that were there were walking for someone that they know or knew that had pancreatic cancer. And the runners, I mean, they're into that. And of course they raised funds. And it just created, and thank the good Lord, we had a beautiful sunny day for that event. And we gave out awards. And I mean, there were all people from, like I said, all walks of life that were involved, and all ages. And it really it gave you a good feeling. And it was well organized. I have to say our health department was the one that, or is the one that takes full charge for this. And it really was a well coordinated event between everyone that was there. And each year we progress and we try to find ways to increase, obviously, participation and financing or raising a fund. And each year we find better ways how to make it even a better day. So I can't thank enough to all the volunteers that participated. And Les Jones is our public health director for the county. Les, if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Freeholder Director. Again, I would like to thank all the volunteers that come out, because without their help, we would not be able to be as successful as we have been at this particular event. Specifically this evening, we do have some people in the audience here that were volunteers. We would like to recognize the Clark Metz Milltown VFW, who is here this evening. I would also like to add that they would have more representatives here this evening. However, those folks are volunteering at the North Brunswick Fire right now.
Wow.
I'd also like to recognize the Middlesex County Medical Reserve Corps. Do we have anybody from the Medical Reserve Corps here? Again, volunteer their time not only for events like this, but when there are disasters around the county and public health events that they assist us in. The Middlesex County Office of Health Services, my staff, if you would please stand up, be recognized. There are a few people here. The Middlesex County Office of Parks and Recreation. And I know Rick is here, but thank you very much. Again, another huge supporter of the event, not only in helping us set up the park rangers that assist us during the day, but also they held 2 softball tournaments this year that raised somewhere in excess of $4,500 to $5,000 towards our goal this year. So thank you again, Rick, and your staff. Also, I'd like to thank the Girl Scout Troop Middlesex Borough 60172 this year that came out, and they helped at the run by manning water stations throughout the course. And again, all of our sponsors, whom without we would not be able to do this. So thank you very much, everyone.
I was just going to mention that this year alone we raised over $30,000, and in the 7 years we raised over $100,000, and that goes all to cancer, pancreatic cancer research, and I can't say how much I appreciate that. I take it personal. This is a personal drive of mine that I feel strongly about, and I think someday we're going to find the cure, because no family should go through that. No family.
Freeholder Director, we also have with us this evening Dr. Ned Ladamy, and Sharon Kukuza from the Rutgers Cancer Institute of New Jersey. I'd like to ask come up and say a few words.
Good evening. On behalf of the Rutgers Cancer Institute of New Jersey, I'd like to thank the organizers of this incredible event. We've been doing this for 7 years now. It's getting larger and larger. As the Freeholder Director said, unfortunately, increasing numbers of our citizens are being touched by this disease, friends, families, and it's events like this that have allowed us to expand the research that we're doing at the Rutgers Cancer Institute in pancreas cancer. We've just finished a first-in-man clinical trial of a new potential therapy that that came from our laboratories, and it was funds from the last several years that allowed us to really expand that trial and learn a tremendous amount of science. I'd like to thank the Freeholder Director for really spearheading this, Mr. Jones, Ms. Walpert, and the entire Health Department team. They do an incredible job. And just one thing, at this year's march or walk and run, there was one thing that everybody was panicked over that I hadn't seen before, and everybody was panicked over the fact that they only had 100 bibs, and the number of pre-registered for the run was going up, and people were coming in droves to register on site for the walk. And they were running out of bibs and trying to figure out what they would do, and I think they hit 94 out of 100, so it wasn't quite a disaster. But thank you again for everybody's support.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, correspondence.
Each freeholder has been provided with a list of correspondence received by the clerk's office since our last meeting. This correspondence will be kept on file in the office of the clerk of the board for reference.
Is there a motion to accept?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Valenti, seconded by Freeholder Tamaro. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ordinances. Public hearing and final adoption.
Notice of the public hearing was published in the Home News Tribune on June 25, 2015. This is for Ordinance 15-424.
The clerk will read Ordinance 15-424 by title only.
A loan ordinance of the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, approving and authorizing the entering into, execution, and delivery of a loan and security agreement with the Middlesex County Improvement Authority for the undertaking of various 2015 capital improvements and the acquisition and installation, as applicable, of various equipment with an estimated cost of $5 million. The cost of such improvements and equipment to be financed through the issuance of county-guaranteed capital equipment and improvement revenue bonds, Series 2015 of the Middlesex County Improvement Authority, and authorizing a public hearing to be held Thursday, July 23, 2015 at 7 p.m. and authorizing publication thereof.
At this time, I declare the public hearing open. Anyone has any comments?
Good evening, Daniel Labar, Metuchen. As I understand it, this is a a bond anticipation note or some part of a two-step process under which this loan ordinance and others would ultimately be rolled into a general obligation bond. What is the county benefit to doing this as a two-step? Assuming that's the case, what is the fiscal benefit to the county of doing this as a two-step process?
I'd like to refer this to Joe, our comptroller.
This is not a two-step process. We're going up in bonds shortly thereafter. So we're financing this, by the way.
Well, what I'm asking is bond counsel going to be then doing is this being handled as a single bond, or there's going to be multiple bond issuances based on this one item?
$1 $5 million bond.
So there's only the bond counsel then, and any commission sales that are involved with it only happens once? Okay, thanks.
State your name for the record, please.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Charles Cradaville. I'm from New Brunswick. If I could just ask for a basic explanation of what the $5 million is for. What are some of these capital improvements?
These are lease purchase and equipment improvement funds, and they're for various, numerous projects, but they're all for equipment, not capital improvements.
Freeholder Kenny, you would like to...
I was going to give some of the stuff under my report in a little bit, but we're going to be upgrading computer systems in various departments throughout the county with this. We're going to be replacing the generator at the training center. Some of the projects that are on the list are at the Middlesex County Fire Academy, the replacement of turnout gear, the upgrades to the number 4 burn building, ground ladders, burn beds, and there was other items on there, but that's just a short write-up on what it is.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Anyone else in the public?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion to close by Freeholder Tamaro, seconded by Freeholder Valente. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 15-424?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Valente, seconded by Freeholder Tamaro. Roll call.
Freeholder Armwood,
Yes.
Yes.
Freeholder Kenny, Freeholder Tamaro,
Yes.
Freeholder Valenti,
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rios.
Yes. Okay. 1502.
Notice of the public hearing was published in the Home News Tribune on June 25, 2015.
The clerk will read ordinance 15-002 by title only.
An ordinance authorizing the guarantee by the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, of the payment of principal and interest on the county guaranteed capital equipment and improvement revenue bonds issued by the Middlesex County Improvement Authority in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $9 million, and authorizing a public hearing to be held Thursday, July 23, 2015 at 7 p.m., authorizing publication thereof, consenting to such financing, and determining certain other matters in connection therewith.
At this time, I'd like to open the meeting up to the public for any comments on the ordinance 15-002.
Good evening once again. Charles Cradaville. Could I just get an explanation of what the $9 million is for?
Freeholder Kenny.
Specific projects I don't have in front of me, Charlie, but basically what it is we go throughout the municipalities asking them, what equipment do they need to purchase, capital, through capital ordinances, and with us having the lower bond rating, the AAA bond rating, we're able to get them at a lower interest rate, and that helps them out. They don't have to put any money down, so it helps them out budget-wise, and it's a shared service program that has been in existence for a while.
Thank you. I'm familiar with the program. Can you tell me, is there anything in it for New Brunswick?
Hold on a second.
No, New Brunswick does not participate this year.
Okay. Can you tell me some of the items that will be purchased? I assume vehicles or...
Sure. IT equipment from Middlesex Flora. We have cameras and security equipment for Carteret. Police building improvements. Salt storage facility. Also, we have Highland Park has some police cars they're buying with this program. And out of the $8,187,000
So there's an right. So there's an additional 4 million. I mean, you said 8.1.
Yeah, 9 million is the ceiling. The
Okay.
actual amount is 8.187. And then Monroe Township is buying some police vehicles, television equipment, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Motion to close the public portion?
Second.
Motion to close by Freeholder Tamaro, second by Freeholder Valente. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There's a motion to adopt ordinance 15-002.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to adopt by Freeholder Tamaro, seconded by Freeholder Valente. Roll call.
Freeholder Armwood?
Yes.
Freeholder Kenny?
Yes.
Freeholder Tamaro?
Yes.
Freeholder Valenti?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rios?
Yes. Reports of freeholders. Freeholder Ken Armwood.
Freeholder Director, I do not have a report, but I would like to say to the Freeholder Director and Freeholder Kenny, according to my watch, it's 7:38, and I've concluded my report.
Thank you, Freeholder Armwood. Freeholder Charles Kenny.
Well, some of mine was used up, but I still have some left. So, just going back to what we spoke about with the upgrades and under the capital improvements, I want to commend Freeholder Polos and our Fire Marshal Mike Gallagher and all the members that work down in our Fire Academy. They have really been working very hard to maximize the output of that academy, and that shows in the fact that they do in-house work, but this is beyond their abilities, and that comes from the use that the Fire Academy is getting. I know last year they had the Port Authority in there training for most of the year. There was a lot of work going down, not on top of the towns that were sending down their firefighters for Firefighter 1 and other classes. So I just want to make mention of the fact that they are doing a fantastic job in the operation of the Fire Academy down there. The other item that I have is 15-1221-R that's on tonight's agenda. That is a vendor enrollment program that we're going to be entering into. And as we've been talking about, we're trying to move to paying our vendors electronically and making it so that there's less time between when they submit their bill and when they get paid their money. And so what we've done is we're looking for the freeholder support tonight to have this final step in our ability to pay the vendors electronically. It's basically a program where the company's going to go out, they're going to do all the legwork for us. Instead of the finance department taking all the employees and trying to set up the accounts and track down how the vendors want to have the ACH payments made to them, this is going to make it so that this company is going to spend the time doing that. Avant-Garde will track down and set up the payment process, how the vendors want to be paid, and it'll save on our employees' hours so they can continue the work that they're doing as we've restructured and limited the amount of employees that we have in the finance department. One of the good features about this is that the information is going to be maintained by Avant-Garde, which is good to us because if there is some type of problem, it's Avant-Garde's responsibility. It's not the county's responsibility. So that's one of the positives that's going to come out of this program, is it's going to be of their undertaking to make sure that the information is secured. There's no setup fee. There's no cost as far as setup to the county. There's a cost for the program, but there's no setup cost for it. And also, in the long run, the county is projected to make each year somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 or better through this program. And that's each year, right, Joe? That's not just a one-time? So hopefully this is going to turn into a situation where the county has some type of recurring income coming in from this account. So I asked the county freeholders for their support tonight. That's all I have.
Thank you, Freeholder Kenny. Freeholder Charlie Tamaro.
Thank you, Director, and good evening. And I'm very happy to report the latest news surrounding the Middlesex County Office of Parks and Recreation summer programs. Plays in the Parks has really had a successful and wonderful season with large crowds. And aside from a few challenging weather events, we've had a lot of lovely weather also. One knows the success of the show when the lawn is covered with chairs and blankets with happy faces and children awaiting the stage to come alive. It doesn't get any better at the plays in the park. Young Frankenstein and Igor, his sidekick, was fun and popular. And we just finished our family favorite show, Oklahoma. Durham, Oklahoma, we had a trial run of an earlier start at 7:30 with many positive reviews. And I crunched the numbers for that night, and there was 500 adults, 564 seniors, and 144 children. And that was a Monday night. So it was very successful to see the turnout for our show on that evening. And my idea was to have an earlier show so more children and more seniors would come out and enjoy it. And we were home by 10 o'clock that night because I was there. I want to remind everybody that the Plays in the Park, in recognition of their continuing service to our country, is proudly offering complimentary admission to all active U.S. serving military members and their immediate family. Thank you to all our men and women in the armed forces. It is the least we can do. Next up will be the final show of the season, the much-anticipated rock opera, Jesus Christ Superstar. The show begins on July 29th and runs through August 8th. This will be the icing on the cake, and do yourself a favor, if you haven't seen a play this summer, come out and see Jesus Christ Superstar. You will certainly be amazed. Our county co-ed summer softball leagues are coming to an end, with the championship games tonight and this Sunday. However, there's still time to register for a team for our fall co-ed slow pitch softball league. The deadline for applications is August 7th. For more information on the application fees and where to mail your roster, check the parks page in the county website and look up sports, or call Aaron Carroll at 732-745-4222. And I hope everybody has a great summer. And thank you, Director.
Thank you. Freeholder Blanquita Valenti.
Thank you, Freeholder Director from the Department of Community Services. Once again, I want to acknowledge the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disability Act and to thank the representatives and artists who were here tonight to be part of this recognition. I would also like to draw your attention to the display here tonight, which is over there, that will move along with the traveling art show. This display contains a variety of information related to the ADA and to services and programs available to assist people with disabilities. I hope you have an opportunity to take a look at the display and to pick up some resource materials. I would also like to highlight the work done in our county clerk's office, specifically the work done through our passports office. A recent on-site inspection and review of the passports office by the Department of State earned them a perfect score, resulting in the issuance of a Certificate of Excellence. This is the first time our passports office has received a perfect score and is a result of the high level of knowledge, compliance with regulations, and performance that our staff achieves on a daily basis. And congratulations to County Clerk Elaine Flynn and to her staff on this well-deserved recognition. I think we should give them a round of applause. Thank you.
I just have a few comments to make. Last month I was asked a question about fracking waste being brought to the borough of Carteret, and I was of the impression, and so was the mayor, of the impression that it was brought to one facility, and found out that it wasn't brought to that facility, but under the impression, again, we were misinformed by the news, one news media outlet, that it was brought to another area. So it was brought, in fact, to one other place in Carteret, and obviously to the objection of the mayor. But I just wanted to clear that up. I would like to also thank all the emergency personnel that were involved in the North Brunswick fire yesterday, everyone from the county, all different fire departments, EMS, police, fire, first aiders, the Salvation Army. They did a tremendous job, and thank God there was not a loss of life. And I think there was one minor injury, two minor injuries, and at least they were minor. But I can't thank them enough. What a effort that they put together in extinguishing that and stopping it from making it a major disaster. It could have been a major disaster. This time, Mr. Kelso, are there any resolutions to be added?
There are none.
Any resolutions to be amended?
There are none.
Any resolutions to be held?
There are none.
Resolutions to be voided?
Yes, Freeholder Director, we have one resolution to be voided. That's 15-1199. It's essentially a duplication of Resolution 15-1214.
We need a motion.
You should motion.
Is there a motion to void that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Valente, seconded by Freeholder Tamaro. Roll call.
Freeholder Armwood,
Yes.
Freeholder Kenny,
Yes.
Freeholder Tamaro,
Yes.
Freeholder Valenti,
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rios.
Yes. This time I'd like to open the meeting up to the public on any resolutions listed.
Good evening once again, members of the board. My name is Charles Cradville. I'm from New Brunswick. I'll draw your attention to page 12 of the resolutions. I notice several items with licensed site remediation professionals services at Roosevelt County Park Maintenance Garage, the Adult Corrections Annex, and Roosevelt Care Center, and then at the bottom, the former County Administration Building. And can you just please explain to me what's going on with those properties? Is there contamination there? Why do we need a LSRP?
I can answer several of them.
Sure.
With regard to the reference to the County Administration Building, this is simply a change of the previous LSRP, which was Keating Environmental, to now CME Associates. This goes back to the 80s, where there was a tank removal, and there are monitoring wells that currently are down gradient from there in the Farron garage. And this change is in anticipation of the demolition of the Farron garage, and so there is a change in the licensed site remediation person. The one with regard to Wolfson is there's several aspects to it. First of all is to develop the plan and specifications for the demolition of the garage, and second, also at the same time, to do an environmental review, because once the garage comes down, there needs to be testing just to determine whether there's anything that needs to be remediated. With regard to the various ones with the park, I'm not clear on that. Perhaps Rick has the answer to that, or Rich.
They would typically be residues from leaking oil tank or leaking line that fed a tank at some point, and they were discovered and now going into the remediation.
Okay, and then there was also the Adult Corrections Annex, and I also see removal of storage tanks at the Adult Correction Facility.
Well, the removal of we're replacing that tank, and the other one is the possibility of contamination on the site.
Can you tell me what type of contamination?
I don't know offhand. We run into, I hate to say, a lot of contamination, but there's various kinds of different sites.
Okay. And then the Roosevelt Care Center also has an LSRP?
Yeah, which one?
It's 1263. It's CME.
In anticipation of the rehabilitation of the building has partial demolition that's occurring to the non-historic component, and this LSRP is in anticipation of that work commencing through the project that we talked about with regard to doing the rehabilitation.
Okay. I also have well, I have a helpful suggestion. On number 20, page 26, there's a bus line in New Brunswick. This is the M5 Jersey Avenue shuttle, and I just wanted to ask, are there shelters along that route? Because I think shelters do a lot to increase ridership for bus routes.
Which one?
This is, I'm sorry, 1382 is agreement with New Brunswick and the county.
And what's your question, Mr. Craddock?
Where can people get on the bus? Are there shelters for them to wait at, or is this, do you just wave at the bus and it pulls over?
Jerry?
There are set routes for the shuttles, and so you don't wave at it necessarily. If you're at that stop, you will be the vehicle stop and pick you up. However, we do make accommodations along the road. If someone can't get to that stop, then at not a precise stop, you can wave them, and if you're along the route, the driver will stop and pick you up. So sometimes there are shelters depending on where the stop is. Sometimes when people take a stop in between the stop shut, there is not. And sometimes depending where we're dropping, there may not be an established shelter.
Okay. Yeah, I know they cost money, but I think it would be a great use of the county money to invest in some shelters along these routes that the county is spending money to run a bus along. I do see some of the stops, and they sometimes they have a bench, but that doesn't do you very much good if it's raining or snowing, or the sun's really beating down on you. So I would like to see more shelters in my city, New Brunswick. And then the last thing I wanted to ask about real quick was just, can you tell me the agency is, the Board of Elections is moving to East Brunswick, I noticed. Can you tell me why?
Your time is up. Thank you. I said yes.
Can you tell me why?
You have another part of the meeting that you can ask your question. Anyone else in the public that has any questions on any resolutions listed?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion to close by Freeholder Tamaro, seconded by Freeholder
Aye.
Valente. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Kelso.
I believe we have one resolution to be removed by two freeholders.
Yes, Freeholder Director, I'd like to ask that we separate item 15-1353R.
Anyone else?
I believe Freeholder Valenti,
I have one.
it's the same one.
Resolution 1353.
Okay, Mr. Kelso.
Yes, Freeholder Director, a motion would then be in order to adopt a consent agenda consisting of resolution numbers 15-1189 through 15-1413, excluding resolution 15-1199 to be voided, and resolution 15-1353 to be voted upon separately.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Freeholder Valente, seconded by Freeholder Tamaro. Roll call.
Freeholder Armwood?
Yes.
Freeholder Kenny?
Yes.
Freeholder Tamaro?
Yes.
Freeholder Valenti?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rios?
Yes.
And now would be appropriate, Freeholder Director, to consider resolution 15-1353, which is excluded by both Freeholder Armwood and Freeholder Valenti.
Motion to adopt.
Second. Motion by Freeholder Tamaro, seconded by Freeholder Kenny. Roll call.
Freeholder Armwood?
Present, not voting?
Yes.
Freeholder Kenny? Freeholder Tamaro?
Yes.
Freeholder Valenti?
Present not voting.
Freeholder Director Rios?
Yes. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting up to the public. Anyone have any comments or questions? Please state your name for the record. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Harold Soretsky, Highland Park resident, and I'd just like to let the freeholders know and the audience that the aptly named Dark Act passed the House of Representatives today, which would forbid, as I understand it, states from enacting legislation to ban labeling of genetically engineered foods. Now, this is just the beginning of the fight. It's not a law yet. It's an act passed by the House. But I'd like to draw people's attention to this and hope that I realize there may be legal considerations here, but I hope that the freeholders will consider a resolution that, or at least a resolution, expressing the view that this is a very, very bad thing. And in fact, in Europe, a lot of U.S. imports in some parts of Europe are banned because of this genetically engineered food that isn't necessarily labeled. And so there's, I guess, a corporate stranglehold on this. And again, as I spoke before, I'm here to reiterate my personal view that a resolution banning fracking, even though it may have no legal effect, would be a valuable thing in indicating the sentiments of the community. And that's basically it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
State your name for the record, and you have 5 minutes, and your address, please.
Hi there. My name is Rita Yelda, and I live at 39 Brookside Avenue in New Brunswick. I am an organizer for Food and Water Watch and also a concerned citizen. I second what Harold said about the Dark Act and really it being a corporate grab of power, and also second the fact that the county freeholders should pass some kind of resolution in support. But I'm particularly here today to talk about the issue of fracking waste. So as maybe some of you know, fracking waste has already come into Middlesex County. It's actually come into New Jersey about 4 times. It's come into Elizabeth, South Kearney. It's also come into Carteret and Deepwater. Unfortunately, this fracking waste is not being properly tracked or regulated by either the New Jersey DEP or by the EPA. This waste is not being screened to see if it's hazardous. We don't know where it's going, and it's full of these cancer-causing chemicals that they use in drilling, as well as radioactivity that it picks up from the shale underground. There was actually an instance in South Kearney where the waste was so radioactive that it actually violated the facility permit limit. So this is dangerous stuff that we're talking about. And this fracking waste is so complicated that there aren't any facilities that can actually treat it and safely purify it without jeopardizing our drinking water. Alarmingly, I found out that here in New Jersey we have 70 wastewater treatment plants above drinking water intakes on the Passaic River, and another 60 sewage treatment plants exist above drinking water intakes on the Raritan River. So this stuff is essentially being mistreated and going out into our waterways and into our bodies. Fracking waste needs to be banned in our county so it doesn't find a way into our water system. Eventually it needs to be banned in the state, but that has been a very difficult thing, as we've seen, because twice there was legislation that could have protected us from this and was vetoed. So gas companies have already brought into this waste into New Jersey, and they're using us as a dumping ground, even though we don't have fracking here. In Pennsylvania, there's a glut of fracking waste. And so really, the freeholder support is vital to protect our public health, our communities, and our water supplies from this dangerous pollution. Both Elizabeth and soon Carteret have passed local legislation ordinances to ban this fracking waste. They've both been impacted, and they're stepping up to protect their residents and ban this waste. And recently, Freeholder Director Rios stated that the county could adopt their own internal policy to not allow the road spreading of this waste, which I applaud and is absolutely necessary, right? Because sometimes what they do is they take these drilling wastes and they use it to melt ice on our roads or to keep down dust. They pawn it off on unknowing municipalities, and so that's necessary, and I applaud that. But I think that without a law on the books that reiterates that and that makes that kind of have a legal penalty, that we're going to see that in the future, if there are different freehold directors, if there are different purchasers for the county, that internal policy could be forgotten. So I'm really here today to ask the freeholders to take the necessary step and codify this internal policy for not spreading the fracking waste on roads. New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the nation, and we already have a slew of pollution problems here. Now is really the time for us to stand up for a healthy and safe future, and not a legacy of accepting more industrial waste. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening once again. I want to thank the Freeholder Director for setting the record straight that there has been fracking waste that was brought to your hometown from Pennsylvania, where they are just ravaging the environment there and dumping the byproducts in New Jersey. If you recall, I gave you some documents on Monday. Do you know for a fact how much waste was brought to the facility in Carteret?
No.
Okay. The numbers I saw said it was more than 400 tons of waste from this, and that happened 3 years ago, 4 years ago now. So I'm extremely concerned that nothing's been done over these years. Thankfully, groups like Food and Water Watch have advocated at the state level to get legislators behind this, and our governor has stood in the way. Governor Christie has twice now vetoed legislation that would protect everyone in New Jersey from this type of horrible dumping. What is the county going to do? Are you going to take Governor Christie's side, or are you going to take the side of the people and ban fracking waste in Middlesex County?
I already answered that question a number of meetings ago, and this will be the last time I'm saying it. This is not the venue to take that argument to. It's a state issue. It's a federal government issue. They're the ones that could do it, and we can't.
Well, I mean, maybe I missed a meeting, but the last meeting I was at, I heard that Mr. Kelso was going to check with the Attorney General's office. Did he do that? Has the Attorney General issued an opinion?
Let me expand on that. And Ms. Yelda, perhaps Ken and the other representatives who attended the meeting with several freeholders and myself the other day, where we spent almost an hour going through a discussion with respect to the limitations that the county has. The county, and yes, the answer is not only did we do independent research, but we had the opportunity to talk with and review memorandums that were done by the Office of Legislative Services at the time that the original legislation was introduced several times by our state legislature that was vetoed by the governor. To make it very simple, the county as a governmental entity at this level does not have the ability to have any jurisdiction over wastewater treatment facilities that are sited in the county, because the field has been preempted by state law, which specifically gives that responsibility to the state and the DEP. Whether they do a good job with it or not is another issue, but it's not something that the county can involve itself with because it's been preempted. There are interstate commerce clause issues dealing directly with trying to limit the transportation and storage of fracking waste materials within the county because of the rights associated with transportation, and I think you're familiar with the interstate commerce clause. With regard to specific limitations on the storage and siting of facilities in various municipalities, the municipal land use law limits the ability of the county to be able to direct a municipality as to what they permit or don't permit in zoning matters, anything under the municipal land use law. We spent a great deal of time, I did, explaining that to Ms. Yelda and the representatives, and I think perhaps they can brief you on more of the detail of that. I know that, for example, Ms. Yelda was familiar with the Office of Legislative Services memorandums because she had known that when she came to the meeting. But the simple answer is, no matter what the personal feelings of the freeholders individually may be, they have legal limitations as to what they can and can't do with regard to trying to limit transportation, storage, siting of facilities. As you know, the county has already enacted a resolution banning fracking in the county. That's because the law specifically permits counties to do that. And as the freeholder director had indicated previously, and as was indicated to Ms. Yelda and the group, is that the county, to the extent that it has the ability, intends to limit under our own specifications the use of any type of fracking waste materials in any of the activities that the county itself does, particularly with using it on de-icing purposes in roadways. And I know the freeholder director has already indicated that, but that's the substance of the position that the county has taken and has been given to the advocates in a meeting during the week this week.
Okay, so I will just ask again. So was my time running while Mr. Kelso was giving a lengthy explanation?
You asked the question, and give you the answer.
Please. This is ridiculous if Mr. Kelso does not have my time. It's my time, and I am entitled to the full time. This is how it works.
Mr. Cradville, you have every opportunity to call our offices with your questions, and we will get your answers to you.
And I have a right to come to these meetings, and I'm entitled to a certain amount of time. And Mr. Kelso used the majority of my time. He did not even answer my question. Did you reach out to the Attorney General like you promised?
He just answered that question.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
Did you?
Yes. And the information was ultimately received from the Office of Legislative Services, because that's where they directed us to speak.
So the Attorney General didn't take a position?
No.
Well,
Thank you.
I still have other questions, and I think it's...
You can reach out to our office anytime you want throughout the 8-hour day to ask any questions.
It should be noted that this board regularly violates the Open Public Meetings Act, and
Thank
the
you.
attitude you're taking with me is a very unprofessional attitude
Thank
for,
you. You're out of order.
for the leader
Next.
of the county government to take. That is ridiculous, sir, and I'm going to continue asking my questions. Why is the Board of Elections being moved out of New Brunswick?
You're out of order. Next, sir. May I please step up to the mic, state your name for the record and address.
Dan LaBar, Box 4495, Metuchen 08840. I have my own kitchen timer tonight because I'm a veteran of open public meetings as well as open mic nights in 5 minutes. 5 minutes only is their standard. 3 items I'll try to cover quick. I had reason recently to take a gander at the updated, I guess it was revamped, county website. There is a graphic on it for government structure, which, for whatever reason, does not show the relationship between the freeholders and the committees unless you activate a profile button. The old graphic, I think, that pre-existed did have that much more expressly. And for members of the public who are unfamiliar with how things work, if that's omitted, some members of the public may be more comfortable dealing with freeholder offices first on the decision tree instead of going from the bottom up. I prefer to work from the top down, that's why I'm here. So if in fact the existing relationship between freeholders and committees is the same now as it was before the website was updated, then that graphic should be corrected. Second item is a reiteration of a question I asked at the TCC level, but I wanted to get an update on it. Contracts for road repavings, I think, and road work, a couple of which I think are on this agenda, were led up back in December 2014 based on asphalt prices then in existence when the asphalt plants were closed. In anticipation of the work being started after the plants were opened, and the reason the bids were let at that time was, as I was told, was to expedite the work on the projects. But the question that I had is, there was an oil price or oil market swoon that occurred in the fall, and it's continuing. The feedstock price for a barrel of oil is holding in the mid and under $50 area. So at some point that's going to have an impact on asphalt costs. So the question was, in the event the asphalt prices, which were implicit in the bids received in December, come in significantly less than they were then, does the county get any pass-through of that decrease? Is there possibility of a reduction in change order for lower price materials, or does the contractor pocket the entire difference? The third question, just to get the questions out, has to do with oil trains, which I know are Federal Railroad Administration controlled. I understand that. And so were trash trains about 20 years ago. But at that time, the Freeholder Board expressed its policy strongly opposing trash trains running through the county, and utilized the auspices of our congressional representation, United States Senate representation, and others to have them rerouted or in some way controlled. Similarly, oil trains, including very volatile oil from North Dakota, are routing through the chemical coastline very close to schools and residences, and they pose significant risks. Similarly, the Freeholder Board, I would urge, should treat that strategically, the same fashion I did with trash trains. Pass resolutions strongly disagreeing with that situation, and engaging the auspices once again, Congressman Pallone and the other congressmen who represent this area, as well as United States Senator Booker and Menendez, as well as presidential administration and other agency oversight, and continue to sort of bird dog that question to see if the chemical coastline and those very dangerous cargoes can be rerouted. Thank you.
Okay, number one, your question as far as the website, I will give you John Pulamina's number, 745-3040, and you can make your recommendations to him as far as the website changes that we can make, and we're open to any suggestions to improve the quality of the website. As far as the contracts for the asphalt, I refer that question to our purchasing agent, Ann.
There is, in asphalt contract purchases, there is an adjustment in there that actually was recommended by the state of New Jersey to deal with the fluctuation in oil. The contracts do have that in.
And as far as the chemical coastline for the railroad, being a former railroad employee, I know the issues dealing with the railroads. You know, they seem to march at their own tune, and you can scream and holler and bang your feet, and they are governed by the Federal Railway Administration and, of course, by the ICC, the Interstate Commerce Commission, but we can speak to our representatives and make comments to them, letting them know that those tank trains on the chemical coast are of concern to our residents.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion to close by Freeholder Tamaro, seconded by Freeholder Valenti. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Freeholder Tamaro, seconded by Freeholder Valenti. Roll call.
Freeholder Armwood?
Yes.
Freeholder Kenny? Freeholder Tamaro?
Yes.
Freeholder Valenti?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rios?
Yes. Meeting adjourned.